What's up and welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today I wanted to share with you a recording of our challenge Q&A of the Momentum March challenge that we did obviously in March where we did a nutrition Q&A, a training Q&A, and then a mindset to where we really touch on the biggest components of this health and fitness odyssey that you're on. And today we're going to start with part 1 of the nutrition Q&A. I actually wanted to break it up into two so that we give you plenty of time to kind of listen to these episodes, but also keep it digestible. Because once we get towards like a hour-long Q&A, it can get a little much. So I'd much rather do 30 minutes and then take it from there. So that being said, let's dive in. Today's the first part of our nutrition Q&A of the Momentum March Challenge. Enjoy, and if you aren't yet, feel free to join our free community, which is where we host those challenges. So if you want to join us next time, make sure to jump in. It's absolutely free. All you got to do is drop your email and answer a quick question, and then we'll let you in, and then you'll be the first to know when we do our next challenge. But for now, let's get into the replay. Morgan says, healthy versus unhealthy carbs. What carb sources are the best to return to? Yes, great question. I don't label things healthy, unhealthy. I believe a diet can be unhealthy or healthy to where, hey, sure, let's be honest, there is a difference between, I don't know, candy, chocolate, added sugar, whatever, like sugary soda, right? Between that and a potato, an apple. And guys, social media is so full of crazy shit right now with the shirtless dudes standing in the supermarket in front of the aisle, and they have the product, and it's like, it's like this little, ingredient on this label is gonna kill you. Like, no. Or they're holding broccoli and it's like, broccoli contains oxalates. Okay, cool. Yeah. We're trying to use big words, we're trying to fear monger, whether it's that stuff or the carnivore people with the wooden plate where it's like blueberries and eggs and steak, and that's the only thing they ever eat. Okay, cool. These days, every food out there is being demonized. But, and of course, who am I, right? Like, who am I to, like, why would you believe me? I guess we'll let the results speak. But I even want you to be critical with my stuff and ask follow-up questions. But what I will say is that I promise you that as far as I understand nutrition, I will always share the truth, right? And I will never try to mislead anyone. So going back to that healthy, unhealthy carb debate, right? Because everything is a debate right now, and technically you can have anything. But you do want to make sure that about 80% up to 90 when you're losing fat comes from whole foods, minimally processed, whole nutritious foods, right? I'm saying whole and minimally processed, it's a skill, right? But for the most part, to be specific, oats are amazing. Fruits, any fruit, you can't go wrong. Have different colors. Vegetables, any vegetables, again, different colors. That stuff contains a lot of fiber. You have a lot of extra water too, phytonutrients. So it's not just micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, like also phytonutrients. So the different colors all have different kind of compounds. Make sense? So change it up. Eat the rainbow, right? So fruits and vegetables, literally any, maybe other than the stuff that you can't really do well with, right? Because some people have certain sensitivities. Okay, let's maybe leave that out. Oats, potatoes, sweet potatoes, whole grain products if you do okay with, gluten. Gluten are not bad, guys. It's just that some people have some gut stuff going on, which leads to them not tolerating it much. Dairy also totally fine. Also good protein source, also there. It's always being demonized, but if you don't have any gut issues, it's fine. Include. You want to have some dairy. There's a lot of good stuff in there. You want to have even like fruit juices and stuff are fine too. Like I'm not the biggest fan of like liquid carbs too much, kind of depending on the case. But it can be part of, our overall just, diet. We said potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, those kind of things, legumes, chickpeas, lentils, those are great. Whole grain products, so tortillas are nice. Bread, I like spelt bread as well. I mean, the list goes on. Like all the normal foods long story short. Um, the more you keep it simple, the better, basically. And then there is room for flexibility. Alrighty. So Karina, and as you guys know, I don't do great with like short answers, but I'm gonna do my best today. Karina says, I've heard that liquid meals aren't always the best. Hey, good point. Like we just talked about that. Um, but I think it's good to have a smoothie for breakfast. Yes, absolutely, and you should. Especially on days when I feel like going for a morning walk right after breakfast. What should I emphasize in such a smoothie of the various composition to keep me full for a few hours? I love that question. Really good one. And I'll share my go-to, and you guys can all try this and you just change it up, right? That's the name of the game here. Change it up. But I always have, so I cut up bananas and I have them in the freezer. So that's a hack, right? You got to cut it up already, freeze it so that you can, right, pull it out for your smoothie. Gives this a little bit more like a milkshake kind of, texture. So frozen banana, then you throw in any kind of berries. Um, I love raspberries, I love blueberries, like really doesn't matter. Whatever you like. So frozen banana, berries, throw in like a handful of like spinach or kale or something. I know it sounds weird, but you're not even gonna taste it, and we're trying to sneak in nutrients anyway. So why not? Um, I think spinach is a good one, probably, but like anything, or you can kind of like throw in any vegetable if you want. It's a good way, and I do this with people sometimes. It's like they kind of hate veggies. Okay, well, that's maybe one way to get them in because you're not going to notice. So again, frozen banana, berries, throw in maybe like spinach or something. And I always will say a scoop of protein powder, go with a whey isolate, keep it simple. Usually the more normal flavors are usually the most gut friendly as well. So like vanilla, chocolate, etc. Once you get into like the out there flavors, like maybe like Fruit Loop flavor or whatever it is, birthday cake, like I've seen people not tolerate those as well more frequently than the basics. So throw that in, and then you're pretty good. Other than, sorry, my bad, a fat source. I like to throw in peanut butter. You can also throw in avocado, believe it or not. Like that's actually really nice too in a smoothie. Um, but throw in a form of healthy fats. So that, and Karina knows this, she is our client. We always talk about the four steps. Every meal should have a protein, carb, fat, and color. I mean, even like Iselin and Celia know this from the very beginning since 2020. We've been building meals like that. It's like, hey, just about a quarter of that plate should be protein. Just about a little over a quarter maybe should be carbs, and then we have a lot of color, the rest of the plate, and then a little bit of fats. The same kind of principle goes for the smoothie. So think protein. Okay, we got that whey isolate, then we go to carbs, which in this case is going to be like the banana as well as the berries, basically, which technically, yes, is then also the color. So we're kind of having two in one. Um, if you want, by the way, you can throw in milk. I do water, but you can do milk, and then that's additional carbs as well, bit of extra protein. Um, and then we throw in, something like peanut butter or maybe flax seeds or chia seeds for those healthy fats. Because then you have the whole spectrum, like you get everything, the fiber as well as the healthy fats. And because you have the protein, the fats, etc., it's going to slow down digestion, especially fiber, that's that too. And because you have a slower digestion, a slower release of that energy in the bloodstream, it'll keep you going for a little bit longer. Samantha, what's up, Samantha? Hope you're doing good. So Samantha had an amazing transformation, and she's been killing it on her own currently, which I always love to see. It's always so cool to see. So Samantha, what's up? What to do when you are sick? What are your best suggestions for nutrition when you are sick? When I am sick, I tend to, want to get comfort food. Yes, absolutely. I feel like we all do. But think about it this way: you're sick, your body, your immune system is working hard, right? Your body needs the nutrients, it needs the calories, it needs the good stuff, basically, even more if you think about it. So what I always recommend is maybe don't stress the tracking and stuff, because I know appetite and all that. If we can state maintenance, for example, great. Okay, good. But prioritize rest, get a lot of sleep in, drink a lot of water, get hydrated, preferably also with electrolytes. And then when it comes to food, if you want to track, just to make sure that you get enough in, because sometimes people struggle with appetite. But if not, okay, just make sure that when you do eat, make sure you mostly get whole foods. Because going back to what I just said, when you do get your proteins and your color, you get the micronutrients, and not only do you support your health or your immune system, which requires energy and stuff too, and nutrients to function properly, you will also keep yourself full. And it's very difficult to crave comfort food when you're, filling up on whole foods with like a chicken breast with a bunch of salad, and because I mean, you guys have seen the big ass salad so far. Like that's the stuff that keeps you full. You know what I mean? And you know what? If you then also want to have some comfort food, why not? I mean, I believe there's always room for that within reason, of course. Um, but the priority of getting mostly whole foods is probably even more important. Um, and then we have a few photos of our big ass salads. We got a smoothie, activity. I love it. There we go. Taya says, nutrition. Do we really need fiber in our nutrition? Yes, we do. We do. There's a direct correlation between like how long we live and how healthy we are and our fiber content. So absolutely. There's a big carnivore movement currently going around where people say, it's not important whatsoever, but it absolutely is. It's going to feed the gut bacteria as well. It's going to allow us to go to the bathroom. And guys, like I know we don't necessarily talk about digestion as much. And to give you a little bit of an idea, I have certain clients like track their poop, like actually. And if you go to Chronometer, and this sounds funny maybe to some, but go to Chronometer, you go track, add biometric, right? And then stool, and then you can look it up, the Bristol stool chart. We track digestion. Why is that? We want to see what digestion is like. I know it's weird, but hey, how often are we going? What does it look like? Weird questions to ask, maybe, but that's a direct reflection of our health. And if that's too often or not often enough, if it's too liquid or we have a hard time even going, okay, that's something to look into. But going back to your question, fiber is going to keep things moving. And that's not just to get rid of, right? We get the nutrients from food and right, that's it. No, it's going to feed the bacteria in your gut. It's also going to help remove or reduce or get rid of excess toxins as well as hormones. For example, if we have a hard time, I won't go too much into it, but if we have a hard time going to the bathroom and we're constipated and we don't get enough fiber, which will help with this, and things don't keep moving, you can start to reabsorb excess estrogen, which is supposed to be cleared, right? Estrogen is not bad by itself, but every hormone should be like in the right amounts, basically. There's always like something that's called too much and too little. If we have digestive issues, we may actually, right, reabsorb estrogen, and then having too much estrogen is not good. Not just that, if there's gut issues, we may have a hard time absorbing the nutrients. So we need our vitamins and minerals for health. You could even argue that, for example, in order to build muscle and actually be able to feed up and go beyond maintenance, etc., if we're dealing with consistent, right, gut issues, and there's just stuff going on, we're kind of like adding fuel to the fire. So fiber is going to be a very big component. I know I kind of went into gut health a little bit there, but it's huge. And if we have the same amount of calories and same everything, but this side has 15 grams more fiber than this side, this will lead, and I forgot the actual percentage, but that will lead to better health and a longer life as well. We got some more salads, and then we have a couple of walks that we go. So Catherine says movements. So we are actually going to talk a little bit more about movement next week, but it's okay. No worries there. I'm always happy to answer questions. What's a good workout split for 3 or 4 days a week? I was going to say, so okay, I'm going to give you two answers here. If it's three times a week, it's always it depends. There's no general answer here. But if it's 3 times a week, you could do 3 full body sessions if you wanted to. You could also do push, pull, legs. That could work. You could do upper, lower, and then whatever you want to focus on, you do that again. So if you want to focus on legs, okay, do legs. Sorry, so lower body, upper body, lower body, for example, right? If you want to focus on your upper body, maybe go upper, lower, upper. It's hard to say. I'm gonna say as a general, so if I really need to make a general statement, probably 3 times full body or push-pull legs. And then with rest days in between, of course. However, it's gonna depend on the individual. And for every single person in this challenge, which is 29 people, by the way, not 27, for everyone here, that's gonna be a different answer. So I want to know what's your goal? Where are you already developed when it comes to muscle? What is your even like what do you want to get out of your training? Hey, by the way, if it's maybe not even muscle building related, okay, what do we want to do? What do we like? You know? So it's hard to kind of give a general answer there. But again, Catherine, like feel free to just hit me up, ask follow-up questions, because these things kind of require a lot of context. And we have more photos from Linda and Siv as well. I love how engaged everyone is in this challenge so far. It's one of the more active kind of groups. I love it, honestly. Thank you all. I think it's really cool. So if you haven't yet, if you are watching live and or the replay and you have not done so yet, like this video, do me a massive favor. Okay, Johanna says, what exactly are processed foods? Okay, that's a big question. Like this could be a whole podcast. We briefly talked about it, but let me call it like a spectrum, right? Where we have single ingredient foods, and then we have, let's call it the stuff that's always demonized, like the stuff that's being made in the lab and has this many ingredients. But it's not just this or that. And especially in Norway right now, there's a big debate going around, like the ultra processed foods, a lot of fear mongering. But guess what? No one's fucking telling people like what actually to do instead of, hey, avoid this thing. Make sense? And I agree that we should not all have processed foods all the time. We can have some, absolutely, and that's okay. But again, but all this energy is going to, hey, this is evil, this food is evil, it's gonna kill you. Like, okay, well, what about actually helping you guys to understand how do you eat healthy and live healthy then? So let me actually give you that answer. So when we look at that spectrum, we have the single ingredient whole food that's an apple, a potato, chicken breast, right? There's no added stuff basically, hopefully. And then we have whatever it is that has a laundry list of ingredients. Guess what? This stuff is usually the stuff that we know is very palatable. It's especially the combination of like sugar, sodium, as well as fat. Like that's that real combination. That's how they get you. But how can we include, right, everything? Because one step from here, we have something that's slightly processed. Oats. Oats are processed food, right? Bread, as much as if you think about it, like if bread is made the way it's supposed to, is yeast, water, and flour, and maybe salt, right? That's it. That's all, but that's still processed, right? Flour, by the way, even like it's also processed. Guess what? Cooking your food, chewing your food, like that's processing it. So without getting too much into that, there's a spectrum from that to then stuff that's more processed and more and more and more. If the majority of your diet looks like the processed stuff and it's all McDonald's, sugary soda, candy, etc., and it's all we eat, that's going to be unhealthy. If we only eat single ingredient whole foods, are we going to get a lot of micronutrients in? Yes. Is it sustainable? I don't think so. It's going to be very difficult. There's probably people who can live like that, but for most, it's going to be somewhere kind of like that 80-20 ratio, which is also always what I kind of preach, right? Get 80% of your nutrition, your calories, etc., from whole foods, single ingredient foods, preferably, or some minimally processed foods. And then there's room for the processed stuff. But don't be afraid of processed foods because also there it requires context. Oats are processed, but Fruit Loops are also, right? Which I also love, by the way. Amy says, is it bad to use powder protein 2 or 3 times a day to hit your protein numbers? Um, Bad? Probably not. Optimal? Nah. I'm always gonna say, hey, like I need you to prioritize real foods. Like that's the priority. However, if we can use this as a temporary tool for you to actually hit your proteins and then move us towards actually getting your proteins in, that will be better, right? And I much rather see you hit your numbers and then we just improve it from there than not getting enough in. Because Amy does like CrossFit, for example, like, hey, like I need you to recover, I need you to build that muscle and maintain your muscle. And by the way, it's still going to be, filling. Um, it's a quick fix solution. I would not like to see you kind of stay there, but yeah, we can actually, right, do that as long as we're going to work towards, hey, mostly whole foods, right? Mostly minimally processed foods, because it's not just about the protein. That's just one little compound, right? It's not one nutrient. Um, it's what's the package? Make sense? Are we getting it from getting protein from eggs? Okay, amazing. We get a lot of healthy fats, choline, a lot of good stuff, a lot of B vitamins, right? Okay, do we get a protein from salmon? We now get our omega-3s as well. Super healthy for you, super important. Um, and I could keep going. You get it, right? So it's like, hey, like what else are we getting with that protein? So we need to look at protein sources not as just that. And that goes for any food, really. So yeah, use it as a quick fix. Also bring this up in your check-in, and then we'll talk about this because we do want to have real food. And anyone who struggles with this, um, just hit me up or Alexandra, and we can help you. And of course, we have the protein cheat sheet. Like there's so many things we can do here. Um, to be honest, guys, like to anyone here with any problem, 99% of it comes down to planning because it's not hard to hit our proteins. It's a matter of planning, knowing which foods we want to eat and then how much. And I can help, of course, right? I know there's a learning curve, but it's not rocket science. That's why we have the protein cheat sheet. It's literally like it's, hey, I want to eat this. Boom, there you go, 30 grams. Simple as that. That's why I made it. Lisa says, I struggle to eat my macros every day. How many meals or how many small meals is too many? Okay, big. So that's kind of like two parts. Let me put it this way. I prefer seeing you hit maybe like 5 meals a day. I think that's going to be optimal. Now, why is that? Roughly, and this is on average, right? Maybe 4 or 5, let's call it. And when I say meals, I really mean like you eat. It could be a snack, it could be a small meal, whatever the hell you want to call it. A feeding. I'm going to say 4 to 5 feedings for most people from experience over the years with hundreds of people. I know that that usually is best. It will also be best from a protein synthesis standpoint or muscle protein synthesis, muscle gain as well as muscle maintenance, basically, which is key. We do need the muscle. We do, right, want to hold on to it, especially during fat loss. Um, Here's what happens when you start adding too many feedings. There's something that's called and I'm totally blanking out on it, MCC. Um, it has to do, 1 second, guys. I totally blanked out on one of the words. That's dumb. But I'm gonna look it up real quick. But we have a system that basically keeps things moving through the gut, which is very important for digestion. So digestion. I wrote about this in my blog. Gut health. I have to look this up now too. I feel like an idiot for bringing it up, and then let me see real quick. So I'm gonna pull this up. But either way, when we kind of keep eating, we don't give the digestion a break, and that cannot properly happen. And that is why at some point, like we're gonna, right? Because you hear that, like, oh, small meals will fire the metabolism. Like, not actually, no, it doesn't work like that. Yes, there's an increase in metabolism, but that's more based on like the total amount. And I did actually pull up the blog here. MC, that's why I couldn't find it. Yeah, so it's sorry guys, it's called the migrating motor complex, which basically only works when you're fasted. And okay, I know fasting like big thing. No, like fasting is in not eating in between the meals that you have, right? So look at it as like it's kind of like your body's like housekeeping. It clears out like all the undigested stuff from your intestines, and things need to keep moving, right? Things need to keep moving. So what happens when you eat and then you have a little snack and then you eat again and you eat again, you eat again? You never give your digestion a break, and housekeeping doesn't really get the signal, and they like, right, they can't come in. Guess what happens? We're stuck with like stuff that we actually want to get out, right? Like I just said, like we're also getting rid of toxins and excess hormones, etc. That cannot happen then. But it goes back to planning again. And this is where, to everyone, like this is where coaching helps. It's, you get the accountability, but you also get the guidance and help. And it's like, hey, we can figure this out together. Let's actually sit down and come up with a plan for you, because struggling to hit our macros is usually because we go, and I'm generalizing here, is usually because we kind of go about it during the day. Here's a bit of protein, fat, carbs, and right. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm standing in front of the fridge with the door open. And I'm scratching my head, like, okay, like with the app open, like, how do I do this? That's too late. You want to wake up and you want to know what you're going to eat, at least for the most part. I know that tomorrow morning I'm going to have my oats, my protein, right? Powder, my berries, and peanut butter. I know that for lunch, I'm going to have rice, a chicken, and a bunch of veggies and a big salad, right? I know that I'm also going to have salmon. Then I'm going to have something for dinner. And at dinner, I usually change up. But there's also a few things I kind of have my own menu, right? That I kind of pick and choose from. Tomorrow's probably going to be tacos because it's Friday, right? Um, it's creating systems. It's creating systems. Hey, okay, so you struggle to meet your macros. What's the first meal that you struggle with? Is that breakfast? Okay, then the rest of this week, as well as next week, sit down, dial in your breakfast. Make sense? And if you need help, just hit me up. But I want everyone to know that hitting your macros, you don't hit your daily macros. That's the total. But your daily total breaks down into, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever meals. So what you do is you have your total. Okay, so how much do I need to hit for that one meal? Okay, now all of a sudden it's like only 30 grams of protein. That's actually really doable. Makes sense? So take it one meal at a time and you can then build it out from there. Then we got more photos. We got the big ass salad a couple times. We got a gym photo. We got box jumps. Stephanie, I have a bad experience with box jumps, and I still have this card from like 6 years. What year was it? Hang on, I feel like I'm getting old when it comes to CrossFit, at least. This was probably 2013, I think. Damn, it's like 9 years ago. Almost 9 years ago, I think I did box jumps. Um, and I really messed up my leg. Like I still have a scar from it, actually, like legit, you know. Um, so I hope you had a good workout. And we have more gym photos, more salads. I love it. Tammy says, I am new to counting macros. What does that process look like? I mean, that's a big one to unpack. So when our clients join us, we break this down. Like I do throw people in. It's like part is gonna be like, hey, like let's just start trying. Just start trying. Everything is new. We walk into the gym and we try to do a movement and we have no idea what we're doing. Everything is awkward. Guess what, guys? And people like the people who've been here for a while, they know this. Celia, Iselin, Linda, right? Like my people, like my old clients, let's call it, right? You've been here from the very beginning. You've seen the changes too. And you also know that in the very beginning, I was really shitty at these live calls, you know. Um, I right also on social media. The podcast, like I couldn't even think about doing a podcast. And now that's all just stuff that I do on a weekly basis. And it's not to toot my own horn, that's to show you we all suck at something in the very beginning. But then you do it anyway, and guess what? You suck a little less. And then at some point you're actually good at it, you know? Um, so if you're new to something, dive in. Try to figure it out. But let me, of course, break it down for you. So counting macros, I like if you're new, like I usually have people start off with calories and protein. Why is that? We still need to learn. And with calories and protein targets, it's slightly easier. Now, your calories come from your macronutrients, so your protein, carbs, and fats. Protein and carbs have 4 calories per gram, fats 9. Because protein is so important, I do want to cover protein. So that's why I usually say, hey, let's do calories and protein and just start you there. And then we're just going to start trying. And then we're going to figure out, just like with Lisa, I just said, I struggle to hit my numbers. Okay, let's find out where you're currently at. That's why I have everyone just track in the beginning. I'm like, hey, just track, don't change anything, because I want to see how you're currently eating. Now we can take that and start making improvements. And guess what? As we start to make improvements and as you get better, and as I'm going to give you more and more guidelines, guess what happens? Things become way easier. Now we're able to put together a healthy meal. Hey, you know what? Now we're learning also to be flexible because it's a tool that's going to allow us to be effective in creating results, while also allowing for flexibility. Um, the way you could see this is like tracking your finances. Let's say someone has an issue with spending, saving, whatever you want to call it. It's like, hey, okay, hey, we're going to start tracking our expenses. We're going to keep looking at that bank app, right? We're going to make sure, hey, okay, what's coming in? What's going out? What are we putting aside, etc. Once that taken care of, like, we create the awareness, right? We have an overview. We know what needs changing. Plus, we have objective data. And this is a big one. We're human. We make emotional decisions all the time. In the moment, right? Which is usually not like, maybe not usually, but often is not the right move. So what you want to do and what you want to make sure of is like we have objective data so that we can hold you accountable, so that we can get you the results that you want, and we can reteach you portion control, what's in nutrition. You're going to learn what has protein, carbs, and fats. You're going to see what has fiber, what contains more micronutrients, what's maybe more filling. And we have data so that we can actually create results. Because I will tell this, I'll say this over and over again, like when we don't track, especially in the beginning, because it's not a lifestyle thing, but we're guessing at best, and we don't want to guess. You don't get incredible results by guessing, and that's why we track macros.